When I moved into the Oakridge estates, it was supposed to be my retirement paradise. 5 wooded acres, quiet neighbors, and enough deer on the property to keep a seasoned hunter like me happy through the fall. I wasn't looking for trouble. I just wanted peace, a cabin in the woods, and my German Shepherd Duke beside me. But trouble has a way of finding those who mind their business. It all started one misty morning in early October. I was deep in my woods, rifle in hand, perched silently in my tree stand, when the first shot rang out. Only it wasn't a shot from my gun. It was a camera click, a flash, then a yell, "Hey, that's against HOA regulations." I turned to see Marjorie Holloway, president of the Oakridge Homeowners Association, standing 30 feet away, her neon pink tracksuit practically glowing against the fall foliage. "You can't hunt here," she snapped, waving her phone like a weapon. "It's my property," I said evenly. "It's against the HOA code, Section 8, Paragraph B. No discharging firearms within community boundaries." That was news to me. I hadn't read every inch of the 200-page HOA rulebook when I bought the place. I figured owning private land meant I could do what I pleased, within reason. But Marjorie didn't see it that way. A week later, I received a formal notice, $500 fine, threat of lien, all because I dared to hunt on my own property. I tried to reason with them, pointed out that the land was zoned rural, that I followed all state hunting regulations, and that I only hunted on my property, far from any trails. But Marjorie was immovable. The HOA board backed her. They saw me as a rogue element, a dangerous man with a gun who didn't fit the spirit of Oakridge. They made it personal. So did I. It was during one of my long walks with Duke that I realized something odd. Many of the hiking trails used by the residents snaked through land that wasn't technically part of Oakridge Estates. It bordered the community, sure, and people treated it like a public park, but the land wasn't public. It was privately owned. A call to the county clerk's office confirmed it. The 150-acre parcel was listed under a trust owned by a company out of state. The records were old, taxes were current, but barely. My interest was piqued. A little digging, some strategic inquiries, and I got in touch with the out-of-state owner, a crusty old rancher named Frank Whitman, who had inherited the land and wanted nothing more to do with it. "You want to buy it?" "Hell yes," Frank said. "Been trying to unload that headache for years." It took 3 months, a pile of paperwork, and a portion of my retirement savings, but in January the land was mine. All 150 acres of forested terrain, with winding trails, babbling brooks and scenic overlooks, the same trails the HOA members used for their weekend hikes and sunrise yoga sessions. I didn't announce it right away. Let them enjoy their walks a little longer. But I had plans. Oh, I had plans. Spring came, and with it, a burst of activity. Every weekend, the same groups of neighbors would trek into their woods. I watched from my porch with a coffee in hand, Duke at my feet, and a smirk on my face. Then one fine morning in April, I struck. I put up signs. "Private property. No trespassing. Violators will be prosecuted." I installed trail cameras, hired a security service, sent a formal cease and desist letter to the HOA outlining the property boundaries and asserting my legal rights as the landowner. The panic began immediately. Marjorie called me in a fury. "You can't just close the trails. People have been using those paths for years, and for years they've been trespassing," I said. But I let it slide, until I got fined for hunting on my own land. "You're being unreasonable." "No," I said. "I'm being lawful." They begged. They pleaded. They offered to revoke my fine. Too little, too late. "You proposed a shared use agreement." I laughed. They tried to get the county involved. The county shrugged. It was private land. End of story. And the best part, their property values began to drop. The online listings that once bragged about access to scenic trails now came with disclaimers. Marjorie was voted out in a coup by summer. I didn't attend the meeting. I was out back grilling venison steaks. But that wasn't the end. A new board president stepped in, Thomas Reed, younger, quieter, seemingly more level-headed. He reached out, offered a meeting, promised civility. I agreed. We met at a neutral location, the local diner. Over eggs and coffee, he made his case. A school group wanted access to part of the land for a summer camp focused on nature studies. Supervised, minimal disturbance. He even offered a small maintenance fee. I listened, said I'd think about it. Then I called Frank Whitman again. "You still got that parcel north of Oakridge?" I asked. "Sure do." Interested. Very. I never reopened the trails. Not for them. Instead I let the land rest. I posted wildlife conservation area signs, planted wildflowers, built bird boxes, installed benches in quiet clearings, where only I and a select few friends could sit and watch the deer roam. Duke loved it. Occasionally, a trespasser would try their luck. I'd send footage to the local sheriff. Word got around. That summer, I bought the northern parcel from Frank. 100 more acres of untouched wilderness, expanding my domain. I converted a portion into a real conservation area. No hunting, no fires, no dogs, just nature thriving. Thomas kept his word. The school group came in the fall, supervised, respectful. They left thank you notes and drawings pinned to my gate. I smiled for days. One day, a younger couple from the neighborhood approached me respectfully. They just moved in. They apologized for the HOA's behavior, asked if I might allow limited access for community kids to learn about nature. I considered it. Maybe someday, but not now. I hadn't sought revenge, not really. I just enforced the same respect they had demanded from me. It's funny how people get so used to privilege that when fairness finally arrives, it feels like cruelty. The woods are quieter now, more peaceful, just the way I like it. And when fall comes, and the leaves start to turn, I still climb up to my old tree stand with Duke beside me. The land is mine, the silence, earned, and the HOA, they don't bother me anymore. Winter settled in with silence and snow. The woods transformed into a white cathedral, each branch heavy with ice, each footstep muffled. I'd thought peace had finally taken root, but trouble, like tree roots, runs deep. It came in the form of a letter, not from the HOA, but from a development firm. Apparently, a large piece of land south of Oakridge was under consideration for a luxury condo project. If approved, it would bring noise, traffic, and a horde of new residents, people who wouldn't know a red oak from a sugar maple, let alone respect the land. I met with Thomas again. He wasn't pleased either. "If this gets built, the HOA will be swamped. Our trails, or what's left, will be trampled." Funny how our interests had begun to align. He suggested a coalition, one between local landowners and environmentally minded residents, a buffer zone, maybe even a nature trust. I'd have laughed a year ago, but now I had leverage, land, and experience. Maybe it was time to stop reacting and start shaping the future of Oakridge. The war wasn't over, it was just evolving. Spring thaw brought more than blooming dogwoods and wild turkey sightings. It brought the beginnings of something new. Thomas and I convened a gathering, not an official HOA meeting, but a community forum. 10 residents showed up, then 20, then more. We met in the old community barn, the one Marjorie had always insisted was too drafty for real use. We lit a fire, brought coffee, and sat in a circle. I laid it out plain. The land needed protection, and if the community wanted a future with nature intact, it would have to help. To my surprise, they listened. A teacher from the elementary school proposed a conservation club. A retired biologist suggested trail maintenance programs with strict schedules and monitoring. A teenager who used to sneak onto my land offered to volunteer for wildlife surveys. We took names, formed committees. The Oakridge Conservation Council was born. It was small, informal, and had no real power, but it had heart. And more importantly, it had land. But peace is never permanent. The developer's plans solidified. I got a notice from the county, a zoning meeting scheduled to approve the condo site. If we wanted to stop it, we had to act. The community came together faster than I expected. Thomas rallied the HOA. I drafted a formal environmental impact report. The council gathered data, wildlife sightings, water testing, trail maps. We showed up at the county office 50 strong, wearing matching green shirts. Protect Oakridge. I spoke. So did Thomas. Even the teenager testified, sharing his story about watching a family of foxes near the southern boundary. The developer's attorney scoffed. This is sentimentalism, not science. I handed him a binder. Inside a full environmental case file, notarized statements from biologists, and most damning of all, a deed. I had bought the central strip of land they needed for access. You can't build what you can't reach, I said. The room fell silent. Zoning denied. Summer returned, and so did peace. But it felt different now, less lonely, more purposeful. The council officially partnered with the local school. Kids hiked under supervision, learned tree species, built bat houses. I even led a workshop on safe tracking practices. Duke, grayer now, still walked beside me. One afternoon, I found Thomas planting wildflowers near a creek. He looked up and grinned. You ever think this would be where we'd end up? Not in a million years, I said. But I'm glad we did. Marjorie sent a letter from Florida. A scrawled line at the bottom read, "Guess you were right about the land." I pinned it next to the thank you drawings on my wall. The woods now belong to more than just me, but they're respected, protected, treasured. I still hunt, still sit in my tree stand when the frost returns. But now, I also sit on the council. We meet monthly, plan trail maintenance, monitor wildlife, and defend against anything that threatens the harmony we've built. The HOA fined me for hunting, so I fought back. But in the end, I didn't just win. I changed everything.